I woke to the smell of pancakes and bacon and a plate already waiting at my seat. Lauren stood at the stove in one of my old shirts, like she used to on our first years together. She turned her head just enough to register I was there. "Morning," she threw, light as a tossed napkin. "Looks like I'm being spoiled. You work hard. Eat." She didn't kiss me. She didn't come close. She parked a fork next to the plate, set down coffee, and kept her eyes on the pan like the skillet was a courtroom and I was a disturbance. I watched her shoulders. Kind shoulders. Steady hands. And a wall right behind the smile. "Later tonight," I tried. "How about we walk the pier? Grab tacos, people watch. Like we used to." "I've got a late call with Jenna," she said. "She's going through something. I promised I'd be there. Then tomorrow. We'll see." I cut into a pancake, nodded like that settled it. It didn't. The food tasted fine and empty. If I'd known where this was headed, I would have put the fork down and taken a picture of that kitchen. It was the last morning that looked normal from 10 feet away. At lunch, I stopped by her office with a sandwich because I was nearby. The receptionist smiled. Lauren didn't. She was polite, the way you're polite with a dentist. "You didn't have to do that," she said, glancing at the clock. "I'm slammed. We can eat in 10 minutes. "Mark," I said, "I'm slammed." "I set this sandwich down anyway." "You're pale. You've been skipping lunch." "Don't start." "Not starting. Observing." "Which is the same thing with you," she muttered. She opened the sandwich, took a small bite, then set it aside. "Thank you. Come by early tonight. We'll make a plan for us. I'll handle dinner." "Why are you making this a thing?" "Because I miss my wife." Her jaw tightened. "We're fine. We're not. You're here, and you're not here." She looked at the window, then back at me, face set. "Work's heavy. That's it. Please don't turn a string into a knot. Then help me untie it. One walk. One honest talk. I'm your husband, not a stranger you wave at. You're pushing." I leaned back. "I'm making a point. Tonight." She stared a half beat, then picked up her phone. "I'll try." "Lauren." She raised a hand. I said I'll try. I took the hint. On the way out, I told myself she was tired. The little voice in my head, the one that usually keeps score, circled the word try and underlined it twice. That night she got home at 9:30, shoes in one hand, hair tied up. "Walk?" I asked. She dropped the shoes by the door. "It's late." "Not for the pier." "I have an early start." "So do I." A shrug. A practice smile. "Tomorrow, okay?" I took a breath and changed tactics. "Fine. But listen up, Thursdays are ours. Non-negotiable. We put it on the calendar, we keep it. 1 hour minimum. No screens, no, just 5 minutes. You in?" She blinked, like I'd said something in Greek. "I don't like ultimatums." "It's not an ultimatum. It's an appointment. With your husband." She folded her arms. "You're being intense." "I'm being clear." She studied me. "Then, 1 hour. Good." 2 days later, she canceled the first Thursday with a text. "Jenna needs me. Rain check." I answered, "We'll talk when you get home." When she walked in, I was at the table, bills spread out, laptop open. I'd already divided the spreadsheet that tracked our spending into yours, mine, ours. The cell borders were thick and black. I'd set alerts for my accounts and pulled my name off 3 auto payments that mostly benefited her sister's recurring projects. "What's all this?" Lauren asked. "Clarity. New system. We've got 3 buckets now. I'm not funding anyone's emergency but ours." A little dramatic for a missed hour, don't you think? This is because of the last 6 weeks, not one missed hour. I'm done saving everyone while we push each other to later. So, I have to submit receipts now. Her laugh had an edge. "No, you just use your bucket. If your bucket runs out, you adjust. Same for me. Ours is protected." She stared at the screen, then at me. "You're tightening screws. I'm stopping leaks. Will you stop treating me like I'm irresponsible? Will you stop acting like I'm a vending machine with a smile?" Her lips twitched. Cute line. I closed the laptop. "Thursday is still ours next week." "We'll see." "Not good enough." She smoothed her shirt. "I'm taking a bath." "Plenty of water in your bucket," I said deadpan. Her head snapped up. For a second I saw the temper. Then she smothered it with a grin. "You're impossible. Reliable, actually." She disappeared down the hall. The tub ran a long time. I spent the next afternoon doing something I should have done a month earlier. I booked us a 4-day beach run. Early flight, small hotel 2 blocks from the water, a list of places that didn't take reservations because they didn't need them. The kind of trip you don't post about, you just live. When she got home, I met her at the door with a grin that, in hindsight, looks naive. Pack a bag. What? Pack. I got us a place by the water. Sun, tacos, lazy mornings. You and me. Her face froze, eyes wide, shoulders tight. The fear flashed like a light left on by mistake. Then she heard my second sentence. Relief washed across her, quick and obvious. She disguised it with enthusiasm that was half a beat late. That's great, she said, a notch too bright. That's exactly what I needed. Good. We fly in 2 days. Early. Tomorrow we'll throw stuff together. She nodded. Perfect. We ate chicken and vegetables. She asked about my day. She laughed at a story I told. She touched my forearm when she passed the salt. For an hour, she played the part she used to own. I let myself exhale. The next evening, I had our bags on the bench by the door, passports in a folder, her favorite sun hat hooked on a strap. The house was quiet. By 9:15, still no Lauren. I texted. No reply. 9:30, the door opened. She walked in with the kind of careful smile you wear in a hospital. Hey, she said softly. You're amazing. Really. I've been thinking. I haven't seen Emily in a while. We've been missing each other. Would you be okay if she and I went together? Sister time? We could really use it. I stared. My smile fell off my face on its own. What? She's been down. Family stuff. I thought, since you booked it already, maybe I could take her in. No. Slipped out of me nearly calm. Then I caught myself. I mean, Lauren, that's not the point. I booked this for us. To fix our rhythm. I want you. Me and you, no audience. We're fine, she replied gently. You're overthinking. But if you're against it, I'll tell her I can't. It'll crush her, but I'll do it. That's not fair, I said. You set it up, so I'm the problem if I say no. I'm asking, she countered. I'm not dictating. If you say no, I'll tell her. I'll feel awful, because I told her I might have a surprise, but I will. Silence stretched. I looked at the bags, then at my wife's very calm, very prepared face. I didn't want to be the jealous guy who blocks sister time. That label tends to stick even when the facts don't. Fine, I said eventually. Take your sister. Enjoy it. She stepped in and hugged me for a whole second longer than usual. Thank you. You're the best man I know. Don't sell me short, I muttered, but I hugged back. She left at dawn. On the way out, she squeezed my shoulder. I owe you. You do, I answered. That evening, I met my guys at O'Malley's to watch highlights and talk life. Nate from the shop, Ted, and Micah. We've been a table for 15 years. I told them the story, minus the sting in my gut. I laid it out like a case. Nate looked at me over his glass. Your wife took a trip you planned for both of you, with her sister. Correct. After weeks of canceling on you. Also correct. And you're okay with that? I'm not okay. I'm choosing not to start a war. Micah winced. Sounds like the war started. You just didn't hear the first shot. Ted tried a softer angle. Maybe Emily really needed it. Maybe, I said. Maybe that fear on Lauren's face when I said pack a bag wasn't about missing a hair appointment. They let that hang. Nate drummed his fingers. Set your rules now. Not later. I already did, I said. Money. Time. Access. I'm done being a walking yes. Good, Nate said. Also call Emily. Check the story. Not calling my sister-in-law to vet my wife, I answered. Not yet. He shrugged. Your funeral or your wake-up. Either way, you'll get breakfast. Cute, I said and tried to laugh. It came out tired. When I got home, the house felt like a hotel lobby. Clean, quiet, someone else's space. I put my phone on the charger and slept badly for once. At 7:30 the next morning, a knock rattled the front door. Sharp, urgent. I opened it in a t-shirt and sweatpants. Emily, I said, because Emily stood there. She looked wrecked. Not theatrical, just done. Eyes red. A folder clutched to her chest like it might run away. Is Lauren with you? I asked, stupid on instinct. Then my brain caught up. Aren't you supposed to be on a beach, with you? She's there. Emily choked, with my husband. The hallway went quiet, like even the refrigerators in the neighborhood took a pause. I stepped aside. Come in. She walked straight to the kitchen table, and set the folder down like a bomb she was allowed to defuse. She opened it and pushed it toward me. Photos, restaurant patios, a park bench, a car in our street at 2 a.m. Two people entwined, careless with schedules. One of them Lauren. The other, Jason, her Jason, who always shook my hand like we were teammates and borrowed tools he never returned. I stood there and let my face do nothing. I looked at the dates, the places. There was a photo of them walking into Emily's house while Emily was supposed to be out of town with her parents. Another of them leaving near sunrise. How long? I asked. Months, Emily said. I found messages. Then I watched. Then I took pictures because I knew if it was just me telling it, it would become my imagination. Who else knows? Nobody. I tried to talk to Jason. He told me I was reading into things. So I drove here. I couldn't stand in that house one more minute. I nodded once. You're staying. I didn't come to dump this on you and then make you comfort me, she said, frustrated with her own tears. I know what this means for you. It means my standards work. I set lines and found out who respected them. What do we do? Her voice reached for a steady tone and missed. I pulled the folder to me, stacked the photos, tapped them even. We go to a lawyer now. We file. We don't do speeches. We do steps. You can move that fast. I can. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Okay. I grabbed my keys. You riding with me? Yes. We drove in a silence that wasn't empty. At the attorney's office, I laid out exactly what I knew, what I'd changed already, what I wanted, a clean exit, assets separated per state law, zero drama. I asked for filings ready before Lauren's return flight on Sunday. The attorney raised an eyebrow at the timeline. I looked back without blinking. Papers were drafted. I signed. Emily signed her own set. We scheduled notary. We set up service plans. Outside, on the sidewalk, Emily shook her head. I keep thinking about last Thanksgiving. Jason carved the turkey. Lauren took pictures. They looked like, I don't know, a commercial. Commercials are make-believe. You aren't even angry. I am. I just spent it already. She looked at me. Where? In action. We stopped at a hardware store. I purchased a keypad deadbolt and 2 bins. Back home, I swapped the lock. I placed Lauren's things in the bins. Careful, folded, not a tantrum, just a boundary you can hold in your hands. I moved our framed wedding photos into the spare room because I didn't enjoy looking at a lie while I made coffee. Emily sat on a stool, silent. I slid her a glass of water. You can cry in my house, I told her. You can also not cry. I'll accept either. She gave a small, broken laugh. Thanks. You're staying here this week, I added. Guest room. Door that locks. I'll make a key code for you. Jason can stand outside all he wants. Are you sure? Yes. And we're not talking about them after today unless logistics demand it. We're not giving them extra hours. She nodded. Deal. That night she cooked spaghetti and burned the first batch of garlic. I waved the smoke alarm with a magazine while she said sorry 12 times. I've burned water, I told her. You're ahead of the curve. We ate at the island and talked about anything except the obvious. Her work. My shop. The idiot who brings his pickup in every 6 months only when it breaks and then argues about why it breaks. Normal things. Emily had a dry observation streak I'd never noticed at family dinners because she always sat 2 chairs down while Lauren and Jason ran commentary for everyone. At 10, my phone buzzed. Lauren. Hey babe, she chirped. The view from our room is ridiculous. Well, the room I'm sharing with Emily. A laugh. Too smooth. Glad you're enjoying the sun, I replied. I looked at Emily. She stared at her glass. You sound stiff, Lauren said lightly. You okay? I'm reorganizing the garage. It's soothing. You're such a dad sometimes, she teased. Listen, I'm sorry about the switch. I shouldn't have asked. It was selfish. I know you wanted us time. Noted. When I'm back, we'll do a weekend. My treat. Let's revisit. Why are you being weird? Because I'm done talking in circles. Go enjoy the trip. I love you, she said, extra sweet. I let a beat pass. Good night, Lauren. I hung up. Emily looked at me, searching for judgment. I didn't offer any. Mid-turn, I said. What? Softening tactic after pressure. People do it when they sense distance. It works on most. Will it work on you? It'll slow me for 10 seconds. Then I'll keep walking. She nodded like she needed that sentence, then went to the guest room. I took the couch for no reason except I liked the vantage point. The house looked different with the photos gone. It breathed. The next day at the shop, Nate cornered me near Bay 3. You look like a man with a plan. I am. Lay it out. Locks changed. Money separated. Papers filed. Evidence cataloged. No speeches queued. He whistled low. You kept receipts. Emily kept them. I just learned how not to ignore them. You going to confront at the door or in a neutral spot? At the door, I said. My house, my rules. Witness included. Who? Emily. Nate nodded grimly. Good. Said it in front of the one person who can't be spun as just a jealous husband. He'll try to outtalk. Will you let him? Jason gets a calm sentence and the door. Lauren gets the same. After that, lawyers. Nate clapped my shoulder once. You're cold when you need to be. I learned from the best, I said. The world. Later that night, Lauren sent a photo of her legs by a pool. No face, just scenery. The message said, wish you were here. I set the phone face down and scrubbed a pan. Emily watched from the island, eyebrows up. Impressive, she said dryly. Postcard sincerity, I replied. She really thinks I'm next to her right now, Emily murmured. People can believe two things at once if both are convenient. Midweek, Lauren called again. Babe, don't be mad, she started. But I checked the bank and saw the buckets thing. It felt controlling. It's transparent. It's punitive. It's grown up. I'm on vacation you paid for, she said, catching herself a second too late. I know exactly what I paid for. She pivoted. I miss you, I'm sure. Why are you like this? Because I'm not a doormat. That's not fair. What's not fair is asking for more access than respect. Look, Lauren, bring the key fob when you return. I changed the lock. Silence. Then, wow. House security upgrade. Relax. You'll have a code. You changed the lock while I'm away? Correct. That's a lot. Welcome to clarity. She hung up. That night, Emily and I watched a documentary and didn't finish it. The couch was comfortable. The conversation was more so. Two adults who'd been cooked slowly in someone else's kitchen learning how to taste food again. Friday, Emily cooked again and nailed the garlic. She also cleaned the guest bath because that's who she is. She put on one of Lauren's old hoodies that Lauren never wore. She asked if it was weird. I said, "Wear what makes you warm." She smiled without any brightness added by effort. Saturday, Jason knocked on my door midday. I didn't open it. "Mark, come on," he called. "Let's not make this messy." "We won't," I said through the door. "You can speak to Emily by email." "This is crazy." "No, this is timed. You're overreacting, man." I pressed my forehead to the wood, more to ground myself than anything. "Jason, the only reason I'm not saying what I'm thinking is because I prefer sentences that hold up in a room with paperwork. Step off my porch." He muttered something about misunderstandings. His footsteps retreated. Emily exhaled from the hallway. "Thanks," she said. "Don't thank me. Thank good hinges. We planned Sunday morning like a checklist. Coffee at 8. Breakfast at 9. Lauren's flight landed at 10:15. She'd text me at 10:40. She'd be at the door by 11. At 7:45, I cracked eggs while Emily warmed the skillet. Routine. Almost peaceful. The island had flowers that Lauren ordered monthly. It made the room look nicer than the week deserved. "You ready?" Emily asked. "Yes." "You want me to talk first or you?" "You get the first line." She nodded and poured coffee. We sat a moment and looked at the front door like it might have feelings. At 11, keys rattled against the new lock. A pause. A knock. I opened. Lauren walked in pulling a carry-on, hair done, sunglasses on her head, tan that didn't come from our backyard. She stopped when she saw Emily at the stove. "What?" she snapped, volume already high. "What is this? Why are you in my house? Where's Jason? Why are you alone?" Emily turned off the burner, set the spatula down with care, and looked right at her sister. "Now you know how it feels," she said, crisp. "Ugly, isn't it?" Lauren's mouth opened, closed, opened again. A beat later, her brain caught up, and she realized she'd just announced two separate stories and neither matched. The room shifted. "Explain," she ordered me, defaulting to tone. I pointed to the table. "Sit." "I'm not." "Sit," I repeated, neutral. She sat. Emily took the chair opposite. I stood by the island, hands resting on the edge. The folder lay between us. I moved it closer. What's that? Lauren asked. Documentation, I said. She reached, but I put my hand on it. I'm going to talk, and then you can talk. Then we're done. You don't get to control. This is me not raising my voice. I cut in. Listen or leave. She looked at Emily, then at me, calculating. Fine. You told me you needed sister time. You also told Emily you were in different places at different hours while you and Jason used her empty house like a discount hotel. You've been doing that for a while. Emily watched long enough to be certain. That folder has timestamps and addresses. The lock is changed. Your things are in 2 bins by the door. Your code will be deactivated at 6 p.m. A courier will deliver the rest of your items tomorrow. An attorney will contact you this afternoon. We're done. For a second, no sound but the hum of the fridge. Lauren rallied. That's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Spare us a monologue. She pivoted to offense, like she'd trained for it. You haven't loved me for months. You're cold. You're intense. You set rules like you're my boss. I set rules like I'm my own. That's overdue. To be honest, maybe I needed something you weren't giving. You checked out. Emily stood, hands flat on the table. You used my husband and my house. You handed me a role in your cover story. You lied to both of us because you wanted 2 lives with 1 bill. That's not a need. That's calculation. Lauren flushed. You don't understand. No, Emily said quietly. I understand perfectly. Lauren turned back to me. You talked to her before you talked to me? She showed up at my door at 7:30 in the morning with paperwork. That trumped your pool selfies. Pool selfies? She repeated, like the phrase was rude. Your timing was worse. Emily slid the folder to her. Look, or don't. It changes nothing. Lauren looked, but only at the top photo, then pushed the whole stack away like it was contagious. You've been living here, she rounded on Emily. Together? For a week, Emily answered. Lauren laughed, short and bitter. Wow, you two really found comfort fast. Emily's face went still. Don't project your methods onto us. Lauren stood abruptly. I need to go. I need to think. I need my things. I gestured to the bins. There. She scanned the room like there might be allies hidden near the coffee maker. There weren't. She tried a last card. If you do this, you'll regret it. You'll throw away years. I'm throwing away the last few months, I replied. The years are already gone. You sold them off in installments. She gripped the handle of her suitcase. You'll look back and see you overreacted. Maybe, I said, but I'll be looking back from a place with a door that locks when I press a button. She stared, then straightened. So that's it. After everything, you're done. Yes. Say it, she demanded, almost pleading. Say you're done. I held her eyes, steady. I'm finished being married to someone who thinks respect is optional. You can leave now. She stood there a heartbeat, then bent, grabbed the bins, and rolled her suitcase to the door. She fumbled with the handle, then remembered the code wasn't relevant anymore. I opened it for her. She paused on the threshold. You're cruel, she said. No, I answered. I'm consistent. She walked out. The door closed. I leaned against it, not because I needed support, but because it felt like the right punctuation. Emily let out a sound that was half laugh, half exhale. Then she cried, not the wild, choking cry from my porch, but something quieter, like pressure releasing from a sealed jar. I poured coffee. We sat again, on the far side of something we didn't order, but finished anyway. An hour later, we drove to Emily's house. Jason was there, fidgeting with his watch on the couch. He stood when we came in. Listen. No, she said. He swallowed. I made mistakes. You made choices. It didn't mean. She cut him off with a small, tired wave. Stop saving your breath for the version of me that begs. I'm not her. He blinked. He tried to rally. We can work through. You'll get the same packet Mark's wife will get, Emily said. Please don't call me at night. Email only. The lock is changing this week. He looked at me like I might intercede. I raised an eyebrow. He shut his mouth. We left. On the drive back, Emily stared out the window. I thought today would feel like an explosion, she said. It feels like a fire alarm finally going silent. Silence is underrated, I answered. You think she'll come back? She asked quietly. She'll come back to the habit of me. That doesn't exist anymore. We agreed, no more autopsies. No more play-by-plays. We cooked, we cleaned, we walked at sunset. We were two adults who'd both decided to stop sitting in rooms where we were slowly erased. The papers moved quickly. The attorney earned her fee. There were emails, signatures, property lists, and account transfers. No meetings with both parties in the same room. No speeches. Every day, a little more of the house became mine again. Every day, Emily's laughter found its own space, not the borrowed kind. A week after papers went out, Lauren texted. "I made a mistake," the message said. "We can fix this. I'll do anything." I typed 3 words. "It's already fixed." 2 days later, she sent a long paragraph about memories, about the couch we bought together, about how I was her anchor. I didn't respond. The lock stayed changed. The bins never returned. At the shop, Nate slapped the hood of a Civic and grinned. "You look lighter." I put down a weight. "You pick up anything else?" I glanced toward the door, where Emily waited with takeout for us both because she'd been near the good Thai place and texted to check if I'd eaten. "Maybe." "Good," Nate said. "When men stop begging for respect, they get it." Wild concept. Write it on a poster. Only if we spell something wrong to keep it humble. Emily and I built a routine that didn't feel like a rebound. It felt like a return. She came by the shop some afternoons. She started a small project for her work in my office because it was quiet and I had coffee that didn't taste like a mistake. We ate dinner without checking our phones. We went to the pier and didn't cancel. We did the things adults do when they're not auditioning for a part they don't want. One night on the couch, she glanced at me, half smile, hesitant. "I know we said we wouldn't talk about them, but we're not," I said softly. "We're talking about us." She considered that. Us is simple. Let's keep it that way. Lauren's updates filtered through mutuals whether I asked or not. She moved into a small apartment near her gym. The lease wasn't friendly. Her projects that used to get underwritten by my bucket faced the math of solo life. I wasn't gloating. I was noting. Choices come with invoices. When the paperwork finalized, my attorney sent a 1-line email. "It's done." I read it twice. I sat back in my chair at the shop and let the hum of the lift, the smell of oil, and the sound of Nate arguing with a sensor bolt be the soundtrack to a life upgraded by subtraction. That night, Emily came home with a pie she didn't bake and said it was homemade because the box looked rustic. We laughed. We ate pie. We sat with our legs barely touching and didn't move them because it felt fine. A month later, she asked without drama, "Do you want me to keep my place, or should I stay here?" The most dangerous words are the soft, simple ones. "You've been here in every way that matters," I said. "Make it official." She nodded, relief passing over her face like the right kind of weather. She moved her few things over in 2 car rides. My house became our house, but that's not really the point. The point is I didn't sell any more of myself for a seat at a table where I was uninvited. I told Nate I was taking a Friday off. He raised an eyebrow. "Fishing." "Better," I said. I went to a small jewelry place that doesn't ask 100 questions and bought a ring. I didn't need fireworks. I needed a date that meant something to her. Her birthday was in 3 weeks. I booked a table at a quiet place with a view where the waiter doesn't interrupt when 2 people are having a real conversation. I planned words that matched the way we lived now, clean, direct, and free of theater. The morning of, I made breakfast. Pancakes this time, not because I needed the symmetry, but because we both liked them. Emily walked in wearing my shirt. Different woman, same shirt, new meaning. She kissed me first, not on autopilot. On purpose. "Smells perfect," she said. "It's not just the food," I said. She rolled her eyes at my attempt at charm and stole a piece of bacon. We ate. We laughed. We didn't pretend any of this was easy. We just didn't complicate what was already simple. After dinner that night, I would take out the ring. I would tell her I don't owe anybody a performance anymore, and I don't accept less than respect. I'd ask if she wanted to keep building something that looks boring from far away and like peace from up close. If Lauren crossed my mind that day, it was as a reminder. She played 2 sides to keep comfort and a safety net. She ended up with a smaller apartment and fewer hands holding her stories steady. She taught me the price of indecision. I paid once and then stopped paying. We didn't make threats. We didn't torch houses. We locked a door, slid a folder across a table, and changed the way we lived. That's how adults end things. Not with noise, but with a clean line. Before we left for dinner, Emily brushed a crumb off my sleeve, then looked at me with that unpracticed, honest smile I'd grown to recognize as hers alone. "You okay?" she asked. "Better than okay," I said. "I'm done living in rooms where I have to prove I belong." She nodded like she'd been waiting to hear that exact sentence. Me too. I picked up my keys. On the way out, I glanced at the front door. New lock. Quiet house. No ghosts. That's the last thing I told Lauren, by the way, when she came once more a week after we'd finalized everything, just to test the edges. She stood on the porch, hands twisting a strap, voice pitched careful. "Can we talk?" "We already did." You didn't even let me apologize." "You didn't apologize," I said. "You negotiated." "I messed up." "You built a system," I corrected. "I dismantled it." "Mark, please." "I wish you good health," I said evenly. "And better choices." She tried to find a crack. There wasn't one. I closed the door gently. No slam. No speech. Just the sound of a lock doing its job. Now I've got a steady shop, friends who don't flinch from truth, a truck that starts on the first turn, and a woman who sits with me on Thursdays because Thursdays are ours and we never cancel. She knows what I expect, and I know what she needs because we say it plain. She'll get a ring tonight. She'll say yes because we make sense, not because we're pretending. And if you're looking for the moral, here it is, short and clean. Love without respect is a charity you pay for until you go broke. I stopped paying. I invested in a life that yields back. That's not a poem. That's a receipt.